Oh, that was a weird one.
Welcome back, everybody, to the first Johnny Goodtimes Fun Factory for 2018. Andy, it took us a while to get this episode out. It's the end of January. What the hell have we been doing?
Goofing off.
Yeah. Well, it's the holidays and whatnot.
Yeah.
Did you get anything good for Christmas?
No, not really.
Yeah, it's been that long ago. You kind of got to stop and think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna try. We'll try better this year to be a little more scheduled. Would you say with these episodes? But we can't guarantee that's gonna happen, right?
No, can't guarantee anything.
Yeah. So joining us tonight is our good friend of the show, Brett. What is up, my man?
What's going on, guys? How you doing?
We are doing just fine. Not to speak for Andy, at least I'm doing just fine. But so yeah. Andy, I happened to notice the other day that you put out your Oscar rankings. I'm going to go ahead and call that up here. You have seen all but one of the films.
I have.
You are very motivated about this. Now, the Oscars for me were very strange this year because on the list, there's only 2 movies that I saw and only about 4 that I had actually heard of. Stuff like Darkest Hour, 3 Billboards, Phantom Thread. What the hell is the Phantom Thread?
Oh, that was a weird one. It's Daniel Day-Lewis. It's like set back in like the 40s or something like that. And he's like a designer that's kind of a dick. And it starts off with him kicking a girl out of his house. He's got this weird lady that lives with him that's fabulous. I was intrigued by her the whole movie. And she's like his assistant or something, but she like is also like a life coach. I don't know. It was a strange movie. And when it was over, I didn't really know what the hell I just saw, but I just know that I was oddly entertained by it.
Oh, okay. Well, that only made number 6 on your list. So you weren't that entertained by it. I did see that you put Dunkirk.
Well, the other movies were better.
Yeah. Dunkirk at your number 1, which I wholeheartedly agree with. I would have put... I didn't see Shape of Water. You have that at number 2. The only other movie on this list I saw was Get Out, which I absolutely loved. Not sure if that's a Best Picture nominee, though, to me.
Yeah, it's definitely not the genre they usually go for, but it was very good. It might have been number 1. I just... all of a sudden the kid's in the basement, and then all of a sudden they're in scrubs.
Oh wait, has Brett seen it?
I have not seen it.
Yeah, you should definitely see it. So try and like recap it without spoiling it.
Okay, well,
you can spoil it.
No, you don't want it spoiled. Trust me, you don't.
Once it got to that point, I thought it might have been like as soon as the TV came on and Mr. Wilhelm from the Seinfeld was on there, I was like, okay, what's going on here? And then it took a little turn that I didn't care for. But when I finished watching the Blu-ray, I saw the alternate ending was on there, and I listened to it with his commentary, and it turns out that was the original ending, and they changed it. So the alternate ending was actually the original ending, and they changed it. And I wish they would have kept the original ending because I really liked it a lot better.
Very good call on that being Mr. Wilhelm. I totally missed that.
I can't believe he's still alive.
Yeah, good God, he was ancient 20 years ago.
Yeah, but I might have had it higher hadn't been for what I okay. Well, if we could go ahead and spoil it, I would have liked it a lot better if she didn't know, if she wasn't in on it. I think, but that might
the daughter you're saying.
Yeah,
okay.
Because then that would have made a little bit better of them trying to escape, I think.
Well, at any point did you doubt, and I'm talking as we approach the climax of the film, did you have any doubts that she was in on it?
I kind of figured she was going to be.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what would be a great twist here if she wasn't.
Yeah.
And then when she was, I was like, crap.
Yeah, I felt almost
that would have been a nice wait, she's not in on it.
Yeah. No,
and then it would have been.
And I thought Jordan Peele did a great job, both with the writing and the directing of the film, and the actors and actresses as well, of really having you guess up to that final moment. Because me and Katie were watching it, and we're like, well, is she part of this? You know, almost the exact same thoughts you had, Andy. And we were both kind of disappointed as well that it went the predictable route, if you will. I thought it would have been like a nice twist if it's like, oh shit, my parents are monsters.
Yeah.
Brett, you don't need to see the movie now.
Now, the Shape of Water, I really, really liked that. It was definitely a unique, not like any other movie you would ever see. I can't think of anything I could even compare it to.
Well, it's like Guillermo del Toro, and his stuff is always pretty weird.
That's why I liked it, and I like weird stuff, so I probably have it higher than most people are going to have it to go see it, but I really liked it. There was an impromptu dance number I could have done without, but it was short, so I didn't ding it too much for that.
Yeah, I generally do not like singing and dancing in my movies.
The Post, as far as I'm concerned, if Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks aren't in that thing doesn't even sniff an Oscar nomination.
Okay.
The first half of that movie just drug on forever.
Okay.
And then there's I thought Saul Goodman stole the movie. He was maybe one of the better characters in the whole movie.
Oh, the dude from
Breaking Bad.
I didn't know that he was in that. That kind of sells me on that.
But if you're watching it, I was, man, it was just real tough for the first half of the movie.
I don't like boring stuff.
And then it got better, and it ended okay, and everyone clapped at the end of the movie. I saw it on a Tuesday, I guess. I later found out that Tuesday's like $5 day or something.
That usually draws a big crowd.
So there was a ton of blue hairs. I was easily the youngest man in the theater at 50 by like 30 years.
Well, it sounds like you didn't like that movie, but you had one film ranked below that. What the fuck is Lady Bird, and why does everybody keep talking about it?
Is it about Lyndon Johnson's wife?
No.
That's a plus one for you there, Brett.
Then I'm not going to go see it.
It's a coming-of-age movie of a teen girl. So I'm definitely not the demographic that they're shooting for, but it's a dialogue-driven indie film, which I generally like those kind of films. And this one just falls short, and it just isn't a good movie in my opinion. I mean, the characters are underdeveloped. The story's a little bit lackluster. It was just, I went to see it because it was getting all this hype. And it opened here. And I said, okay, I'll go see it. And I went on the day it opened. It was a Friday. And there was like maybe me and three other people in there. And here it is 9 weeks later, and it's still playing here.
Wow.
And I can't imagine people are still going to see it 9 weeks out, but what do I know? Some people say it's the best thing they've ever seen. For a while there, it had 100% critic score. I see the audience score now on Rotten Tomatoes is starting to go down. It's like some people are behind it 100%. And other people like me just don't get the hype. I mean, it was an okay movie, but I wouldn't have not. I don't think it was one of the better movies of the year.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and pass on that one. And being here in Arkansas, which isn't exactly a cinema hotbed, although we do have a theater, some kind of film festival here apparently. But we didn't get movies. I don't remember Lady Bird, The Post, Darkest Hour, that stuff, even being in the theaters here.
Oh, The Darkest Hour. I didn't mention that one.
Yeah, what's the story behind that?
That's about Winston Churchill.
Okay.
And the events leading up to World War II.
I'd be interested in that one.
Yeah,
actually, a lot of it has to deal with them getting the soldiers out of Dunkirk.
Oh.
So I watched that, and then I came home and watched Dunkirk. So they went right into each other, and that might be one of the reasons I like Dunkirk so much, because I just really liked Darkest Hour and saw that earlier in the day, and then came home and watched Dunkirk. So if you're going to watch those two movies, I would recommend trying to do that. Watch Darkest Hour first and then Dunkirk if you haven't seen these before.
Now, did you see Dunkirk in the theater?
I did not. I rented it here off of one of these services I get on my Chromecast.
I didn't see it until we got it at home, and I'm really kicking myself for that because everybody keeps telling me, you gotta see it in the theater. It was so much better in the theater. So yeah, I'm pretty pissed because I absolutely loved that movie, and that's my pick for Best Picture.
Yeah, I liked it a lot too. Go ahead.
I've seen Dunkirk first.
You haven't seen Dunkirk yet?
No, I haven't. But why not see Dunkirk first before The Darkest Hour? Or is it?
No, The Darkest Hour. Darkest Hour is them planning. It's The Darkest Hour is right when Churchill takes over for Chamberlain, and then the events leading up to Dunkirk.
Okay, gotcha.
So, but I mean, some of the dialogue's hard to understand in Darkest Hour, but it's nothing that's crucial. But I liked it. And then Three Billboards, that was a little dark, but I like those kind of movies, so it's worth seeing. Like, the only ones I would tell you, out of this list of the ones that I've seen so far, the only ones that I would steer you away from is The Post and Lady Bird.
Okay.
And the second half of The Post is good, but boy, it just is it's brutal.
Is it preachy at all, given the current political climate?
No, not really.
Okay.
I mean, the parts that they make preachy, they might as well bring out a neon sign above the screen.
Yeah.
And because you could tell. But I mean, it's not. I don't think any of these movies were all that political to me.
Well, I've just come to terms with the fact that every movie released here until I get planted in the ground is going to have at least one moment of, hey, this is how you're supposed to behave. I mean, for the love of Christ, Star Wars had it.
There is a part in the movie where she's up on they just come out of court, and the press is interviewing the men from the Times. And then she's standing over to the side, and there's no one there interviewing her. And then she says, well, we've already said everything we needed to say. And then she starts to walk down the stairs, and it's nothing but, like, young women. And she goes through this crowd of young women, and they're all, like, staring at her. That was a little forced.
Yeah.
But, like I said, the political things that they tried to do in there were forced, or seemed forced, but that wasn't the reason I didn't like the movie. It just was, the beginning of it was just brutal.
Well, based on what you're telling me, I'll probably check out Shape of Water and the Churchill thing. Other than that, the rest of those, I'm gonna swipe, what is it with the kids? They swipe left for bad? That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna swipe left. So, Brett, you didn't see Get Out, you didn't see Dunkirk. What the hell do you do with your free time?
I don't know. Watching The Office, apparently.
That's the segue I was looking for.
There you go.
So we're wrapping up the Oscar talk. We are moving on. We gathered here tonight because me and Brett each just wrapped up our own Office rewatch. I finished mine back in December. Brett, you just finished yours a couple of weeks ago. How many times have you watched the series front to back now?
Technically 2. I know I tried to rewatch maybe shortly after it ended, and I think I stopped in the last season because it was so ridiculous.
Yeah.
So this is like the first time I rewatched it on Netflix, like all the way through.
Now, Andy, how long has it been since you saw the show?
I bet you I haven't seen an episode since it ended.
Wow. And that shut down in, 2012?
Yeah, roughly. I think it was like 2012, yeah.
It's been off the air for quite a while now.
Yeah, because I don't know. I don't really watch anything syndicated, so
It's back. Comedy Central just picked it up in the new year.
Okay, so because I don't even remember seeing it in syndication.
TBS had it for a while.
Oh, they did?
That's kind of a bold move for them to even pay to air that because, I mean, if it's available on Netflix, that's where people are going to go.
Yeah, and Comedy Central extends the episodes 5 minutes for extra commercials.
Ew. Yeah, who would want to watch that with commercials?
Yeah, I knew I was in San Diego. I was watching a little bit of it in between like breaks, and it was really weird. It's just 5 minutes extra on it. It's just extra commercials.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's why I keep going back to it. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is probably my favorite comedy of all time, and that's saying something because I've lived through the Seinfeld era and other good shows. I was a big Frasier fan. I think Office is heads and tails above that. But I think the reason I keep going back to The Office is because it is always available on Netflix, and I can always restart it from the beginning and watch it at my own pace. I mean, these streaming services have really changed how we interpret our media.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's great. I mean, I think Parks and Rec has always been on there. It seems like, and The Office and all that. I watched The West Wing a few years ago when I was on Netflix.
Yeah, that's something everybody keeps telling me I should check out, The West Wing.
I don't know. If it's your speed or not.
These days, I'm so burned out on politics in general. I just don't know if I want to consume that in my entertainment. You know.
I mean, I consider myself middle of the road, and I enjoyed it for how left wing it was. But
Yeah.
I just don't know for you're kind of an action junkie and a little bit of content.
Yeah. Yeah, I like stuff getting blown up, and if it's not set in space, I'm probably going to be bored. So.
Yeah, see, I never watched The West Wing either, but I do like. For some reason, I find myself watching that Madam Secretary show. I like that show for some
reason. Is that with the puppet?
No.
What's that weird shit that keeps tweeting at us, that puppet? Isn't that called Madam?
That's Madam's Place.
Okay.
No.
Is that an actual show?
Madam Secretary is about about politics. It's about the Secretary of State.
Okay.
Is that with Catherine Hagel?
No, it's Tia Leone.
Not too bad.
Yeah, and what's his name from Wings is on there.
Ooh, I like Wings.
Hackett.
Well, there's two Hacketts. Which one is it, Brian Hackett or Joe Hackett?
It was the more serious guy.
Okay, Joe Hackett. Is that a show that's like currently airing, or has that been out for a while?
Yeah, it's on Sunday nights. That's probably why I watch it, because it's on Sunday night. I bet you if it wasn't on, I bet you that's how I stumbled across it, because it's on Sunday nights, and Sunday nights is usually the only night that I actually watch live TV.
Walking Dead.
Because I've already finished all the shows I DVR'd through the week on Saturday and Sunday afternoon. So then I've got Sunday night for free, and then Walking Dead or Fear the Walking Dead comes on.
I'm impressed you keep a clean DVR.
I don't right now. I'm behind on some of the superhero shows.
I haven't watched one episode of Flash or Arrow this year.
One episode behind on Flash and 2 on Arrow.
Without spoiling anything, how's it been this year?
This season, or just
this season, like the seasons?
I'm getting close to quitting Arrow,
okay,
to be honest with you. But the other ones seem to be okay. I watched Supergirl too.
See, I thought Arrow ended very strong last season, but then people told me the premiere sucked.
Yeah, I don't know if I like some of the characters.
Yeah. Well, we're going to discuss this with The Office, too, because that has the exact same problem. At some point, there got to be so many characters that nobody could really be fully fleshed out, because you have 40 minutes per episode to go through this stuff. I just don't necessarily care about what some of these side characters are doing. Like Mr. Terrific, I'm just not invested in that character. I want to kind of stick with the core characters. I like Diggle. I like the Green Arrow. I like Felicity.
Yeah. I agree.
Flash, how's that been?
It's all right. They brought in a new guy. He's a Jim Carrey knockoff.
Oh, I don't like the sound of that at all.
Yeah, so it's starting to get...
Okay.
The last couple of episodes, they must have been seeing something on social media or something, because the guys toned it down a little bit.
Oh, boy.
But when he first started, it was flat out Carrey on level 10 mask.
I don't like that at all.
I actually think that other than The Gifted, that Supergirl is past both. I think it's the best CW superhero show that I watch.
Yeah?
I actually like it, yeah.
Do you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I do.
Okay, how has that been this season?
It's been hit or miss.
Okay.
They're in outer space again.
Okay. Yeah.
So they're dealing with some Kree stuff. So I don't know if they're going to factor that into any of the stuff in the movies or not.
That'd be related to Captain Marvel, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
well, we'll see. I didn't bother to DVR that one this year, mostly because I just forgot. I wasn't making some kind of statement,
but I really like that Gifted show on Fox.
Okay. And that's X-Men related?
Yeah, that's the X-Men universe or whatever. That seems to be around the same timeline as maybe Logan, because the X-Men are already gone.
In the future, then?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the X-Men are gone. And I don't know when the timeline is, to be honest. Somebody that pays more attention to that stuff.
Well, I like that time frame that Logan was set in. I like that kind of futuristic world, but it's like feels like it's like maybe 5 years away.
Yeah, this one, I mean, there's nothing, no cars flying around or anything. I mean,
that's
like
the kind of futuristic stuff I get sick of. I like seeing that like more grounded future.
It seems like this is maybe real close to where we're at right now.
Okay.
I mean, but I really like that show a lot. I kept waiting for it to jump the shark. I was like, oh, sooner or later this is just going to get bad. But it went the whole season, and I see they renewed it. So,
did you make it all the way through Inhumans?
I did.
Yeah. How bad?
I'll tell you what, it wasn't as bad as the critics were saying, but it wasn't good.
Okay.
Is it that robot show?
No, it was about...
It's got Ramses from Game of Thrones in it. And I don't know, I think he transforms into a bulldog or something at some point. Is that right? Even close to being right?
No, the bulldog's always a bulldog. That's Lockjaw.
Okay.
He's in the...
Okay.
He's actually the guy from Game of Thrones. I think plays Black Bolt's brother, and he's actually not even an Inhuman. He's actually when he went through his Terrigenesis, he remained human. So he isn't. He actually isn't an Inhuman.
He got screwed over there. I bet you he's bitter and moody.
Yeah,
right?
and then
he plays that well.
So. I mean, there was some bad acting. The one actress wasn't very good that played Medusa's sister.
Well, weren't the costumes really bad, too?
Yeah, and they started off the hair. Everyone was saying how bad the hair was for Medusa, and I didn't think it was that bad. But I guess instead of dealing with it, they just had it cut off.
No, was it CG hair?
Yeah, but it looked okay.
Okay.
And then, because she used it for a little bit, because she could control her hair, and she used it in the first couple of episodes, or the first episode, and then that Ramses guy caught her and shaved it off so she couldn't use it against him.
Uh-oh.
So then she spent the rest of the show with no hair, with the buzz cut.
Well, doesn't that kind of go against what the character is? I mean, if the character is Medusa, and that's like her power, that's got to kind of piss fans off a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I don't know.
Well, it's not coming back, is it? Did it get renewed?
I don't know if it did or not.
Okay, we'll just assume not.
Yeah.
Well, that was an unexpected tangent there, Brett. You didn't have much to offer there because you don't watch any of those shows, do you?
Nah, I don't.
Didn't at one point, didn't you watch the CW superhero shows? Or am I thinking of somebody else?
No, I watched Smallville for a little bit. I don't even know if I finished that show.
That's old school. That's like a decade ago.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, Mish rants about that show a lot. He loves that.
Yeah, I picked it up late. I don't know. It got ridiculous towards the end.
Yeah, well, one show that is not ridiculous, especially towards the start, is The Office, getting us back on track there a little bit. Brett, what is so special about this show that we keep coming back to it?
For me, I picked this show up in the middle of the third season. I wasn't watching a lot of live or TV shows before the advent of the DVR. But I remember stumbling across this. I remember somebody talking about it years ago when it first came out. I think it's just I was 24 when it came out, so it was just, the advent of like learning how an office operates, and it's ridiculous in its own right, but it's really not that far off. It's like you kind of relate to it.
So
Same with Office Space.
So are you saying that you had worked in an office before you saw the show, or not yet?
I was 2 years out of college, so yeah,
Okay.
basically like 2 years of my career, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you're totally right there, Brett. And I think the big thing about the show, it's got great characters, it's got excellent writing, especially in the first half of the show before Carell left. But what makes it stand so strong is that it is so relatable. Every office has a Jim. Every office has a Phyllis. Every office has a Dwight. Maybe not pumped up to that extreme, but we can see people we know, people that we've worked with in these characters, and that makes the situations feel more real, no matter how ridiculous they might play out on screen.
Yeah, and like you said, the writing was great. I mean, I think they hit like every aspect, especially in the early part, first 2 or 3 seasons. Like like. One of my favorite episodes is a sexual harassment episode.
Oh, that's
it's like
great.
out of the second season. But they had like the different aspects within that office. I mean, I worked in a big corporation at the time, but when you look at my department that I worked in, I could relate to like that kind of like small company mentality, I guess. And you're right, every character was relatable to somebody within your office.
Yeah, you mentioned the sexual harassment episode. Now, Brett, I think a while back you texted me, I think it was right as you were watching that episode, and you brought up a good point. Do you think that episode would air today?
I'd say out of the first 3 seasons, 30% of those episodes probably wouldn't air.
Yeah.
You got the Diversity Day in season 1 that I could not believe that was on national TV.
Yeah.
And that's like an FX like kind of episode.
Yeah, they go pretty crazy in that one.
I mean, the Bushiest Beaver comment, the quote, Bushiest Beaver and the Dundies.
That was a Dundee, yeah, wasn't it?
Yeah, the sexual harassment. You had when Oscar came out and he called him a faggot. That stuff would not air anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a sign of the times. Now, granted, they'd probably still run the same storyline, but they certainly wouldn't use as colorful language as they could. And, it's almost at times, we're so conditioned to think in today's terms that it's almost kind of cringeworthy watching some of those today.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of like, oh, man.
Andy, are you your office's Dwight?
Nice.
I was gonna say you're almost the Creed. You're just kind of the quiet guy sitting in the back of the corner that probably smells weird because he's eating lima beans.
Yeah, that no one knows exactly what he does. Yeah, that would probably be me.
Creed's the best.
Yeah, Brett, that's your favorite character, right?
Yeah. He has a cult following. I think more people have come out like saying they like him the most.
Well, I think, if they were to... there's been rumors of a reboot, and we'll get to that towards the end, but he is the one character that is 100%. He's confirmed that he will participate in it.
Nice.
That's good news. I still think the reboot is a terrible idea, but we'll discuss that towards the end. And another strength I think about the show early on was that it had a clear understanding... There was like a hierarchy of it, not necessarily in the office, but in the characters themselves. You had 4 clear main characters. You had Michael, Jim, Pam, and Dwight. And it was just kind of, no matter if the stories were centered directly around them, those were your key participants. And everybody in the background, we mentioned Creed, where there was Phyllis and Oscar and Angela and all these moving pieces behind. It just kind of added like flavor. But they worked well in the background. I think one of the problems the show ran into towards the end is it tried to bring those characters to the front, and some of them just didn't work as main characters.
Yeah, I think Creed was steady where he always had the random parts. They didn't try to make him out to anything more. I think they handled him well. And I actually think Stanley got better towards the end, too.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think everybody... Angela was all right. I know Phyllis got annoying.
The Angela with the Senator storyline is arguably my worst storyline of the entire show. I just was completely checked out on that. It was horribly distracting. It got a little bit interesting when they introduced Oscar as the potential love. It became a love triangle. That was kind of funny. But she just did not work as a main character for me.
Yeah, she might have been one of the weakest characters on that whole show, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably right on that one. I mean, she was great with the White, and that Andy storyline, even when she went to him, was kind of dumb, too.
Well, in my opinion, everything to do with Andy Dwyer was awful, so...
Yeah.
But,
I mean, the fact that they sent her to... Ed Helms is a good talent. That character could not get
The Nard Dog.
Yeah, the
Nard
Nardog and the Rudit, and I just cringe every time I hear him do that. And I know that is the point, that he's supposed to be obnoxious, but when he became boss, that is probably the darkest time in the show's history.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it was bad. Him as a boss was bad as a main character.
Well, and that would have been season 8, wouldn't it?
I think it was the last season. Season 8 and season 9.
Season 9. Last season is where he goes on the cruise for most of it, but I think he was the boss, I think, for season 8, because that introduced Robert California, and his first task was to make Andy the branch manager, and it was so bad. And I think that's why that entire... Not directly why that season sucks, but season 8 should not even exist. Everything about it is bad. You got Nellie in there. You've got Robert California. It's not all because Carell left. It's just they made so many poor decisions at that stage.
Yeah, and I don't even necessarily know what they could have done, though, as far as branch manager to replace him.
Like, I thought Creed was funny. For the couple episodes he was manager, I thought that was kind of funny.
Who?
Creed.
Oh, that episode was great.
Yeah,
that cold open was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, I think it would have suffered if Jim and Dwight was the boss for 2 years, though, too.
Oh yeah. Well, even
I don't necessarily know what they could have done.
Was it you that brought up that the Jim Michael co-boss thing was pretty stupid, or am I thinking of somebody else?
Yeah, I don't think I minded the first time I saw it, but this rewatch, I was kind of like, this is kind of dumb.
Yeah. Yeah, just both from a concept and just it just didn't work. And I know that they were trying to do something with the character of Jim, because once he got together with Pam, well, that whole spark is over, that part is resolved, and they kept giving him things to do. Well, we're going to let Jim and Pam have a baby. That's a storyline. We'll make Jim the co-manager. And that one just did not work at all.
Yeah, and honestly, the times when they had that like air suspense with Jim and Pam breaking up was kind of dumb too.
Yeah,
I hated that arc with the boom light guy in the last season.
See, I kind of like that. I thought that kind of added a little bit of a twist there, but I really liked the long distance thing they did with Jim and Pam in the final season.
That was good.
That's something I can relate to, because when I was farming, I was constantly away from my wife, 200 miles away, and I can understand the struggles that go along with that. But season 9 isn't terrible. It's season 8 that is a complete turd from front to back.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand what Nellie was there, who she was before that episode.
It seems so random. Well, do you remember that she interviewed for the job of branch manager?
Yeah, it was terrible.
I forgot that the first time.
No, I remember that.
Ugh.
And then they ruined. I mean, one of my favorite moments in that whole episode where they're searching for Michael's replacement was Robert California, and they ruined that character too.
Yeah,
there was so much potential there when he interviewed and like the mind games he was playing in that interview, and then they just kind of ruined it towards the end. He wasn't as bad as I remembered, but he kind of got it like into a character at the end before he left.
So I would say through the first 4 or 5 seasons, The Office was an A+ comedy. There weren't very many filler episodes. It was consistently funny. Maybe the entire episode wasn't funny, but there was consistently something funny to laugh at every single week you watched. It was just consistent. And then, you get into season 6 and season 7, and of course, towards the end of 7, we lose Steve Carell, who goes off to do movies and stuff like that. Andy, is that where the show all fell apart, or were there already cracks in the foundation before that?
Well, that certainly didn't help. When you lose, you lose the main character. You're going to have struggles, but like you said, I bet they could have come up with something to fix it, because shows have gone through that before. Look at Law and Order, for God's sakes.
That's a good point.
You can lose main characters and still keep it together. Granted, that's a different kind of show. The plot lines are more the show on that than the characters, but yeah, that probably was the nail in the coffin.
And I'll be honest, I mean, there's not a lot of people that could replace Carell in that show, though. Yeah. So I mean, I'm just trying to think through my. I mean, I know Will Ferrell's arc was good. I think it was good for a 3 or 4 episode arc. I don't necessarily know if that would have lasted over the long haul.
Yeah, I agree.
But those were big shoes to fill.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I remember of Carell before The Office, wasn't he a Daily Show consultant?
I think that's where he got his. That's where he. I think that's where he made his name.
Yeah, he was
I
like a
actually heard.
reporter.
Yeah, I actually heard something like NBC was ready to cancel after season 1, and then 40-Year-Old Virgin came out, and they realized they actually had a movie star on their hands, and that's what actually kind of saved the show.
Yeah.
That's what really kind of greenlit season 2. I remember hearing Mike Schur talk about that on his podcast.
Well, and I think the character, when you look at season 1 to season 2, I think the character changes considerably. I mean, even the way he looks, because if you remember, he almost looks like he's losing his hair in the first season, like he's got bad hair plugs, and then all of a sudden he looks really, really good in season 2.
The production value went up.
Yeah, that's a good point too. That you could tell that they were starting to pump some money into it. I have heard that story as well, Brett, about the 40-Year-Old Virgin. But man, he made this role his, and I mean, it's going to go down as one of the most iconic performances in sitcom history. I mean, everybody knows who Michael Scott is, whether you like the show or not.
Oh, definitely.
Do you think that they could have made a better choice as far as replacement, or was the damage already done? Because, if you go back and watch it a second time or a third time or whatever it is, there's some bad episodes leading up to Carell's departure. I remember there's one where they do kind of like a Survivor Man thing. I thought that one sucked really bad. I thought the christening episode where they went to Jim and Pam's, that one sucked, where they end up on a bus to Mexico or something. And then there's like a straight up filler episode, I think towards the end of season 5. Like that auditor comes in and just it's a clip show, and I'm like, you guys are better than this. The writing is better than this. You don't do a fucking clip show when you're this good at the top of your game. So, I mean, even before Carell left, I really do think the foundation was starting to sink.
I think peak was I think their apex was probably, I want to say, season 3. And we talked about this. I went through, I always thought season 2 was the gold one. Season 3 had a ton of good episodes.
Season 3 was where Jim was in Stanford, right?
Right, and then they had the merger, and then they had Michael going. I guess he came out with Jan then as a couple.
Oh yeah.
And then they were looking for his replacement and everything like that. I think there's maybe 5 weak episodes out of that season, but that season's pretty solid.
Yeah. Yeah, the early stuff is just as good as you'll ever see on TV. And I think a large part of it is because the show writers weren't afraid to reinvent things, You have Pam reject Jim at casino night. Well, let's send Jim to Stanford next season and mix things up like that. And it just completely changed the dynamic, and it was brilliant.
It was funny because I actually picked up Phyllis's Wedding was the first episode I watched. So that was later in season 3. So when I actually I think I finished season 3. I actually was rewatching 1, 2, and 3 while season 4 was going on. And when Jim went to Stanford, I was kind of gasped at that time that they did that.
Yeah,
I was totally totally unexpected on that one.
Yeah, it was a risky move, but man, did it pay off, because that not only introduced a whole another cast of characters, and while I can't stand Andy Dwyer, I did enjoy the addition of Karen Fittipaldi. I thought that really mixed things up well and created yet another love triangle for that to kind of cause some conflict there. So I like that part of it. But then, they all pull them together and everybody gets reunited and, they soldier on. And it was some really good TV. I mean, even as bad as the later half of the show was, I still think it's my favorite sitcom of all time.
It's definitely top 3 for me.
So, Carell leaves towards, was it middle of season 7? It was towards the end of season 7, I think.
Yeah, there's maybe 3 episodes left in season 7.
Yeah, they brought in, they had it was like an all-star cast of people. Somebody Andy mentioned earlier, Jim Carrey was one of the people that auditioned for the job. You had Ray Romano. They ultimately settle on James Spader's Robert California. I still believe that was a move made they really wanted to have something totally different, so they didn't have a copy of Carell's contribution to the series. Andy, do you think that was the right call, or could they have made a better choice considering some of those other actors?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That's a tough question.
I mean, Spader's more of a dramatic actor, right?
I've
Yeah.
never seen him in a comedy before this.
I mean, the only other comedy I remember seeing him in is Mannequin, I think.
Oh,
And he
wow.
wasn't really Yeah.
That's a deep cut right there.
My sister
He was,
watched it all
he was the
time.
bad guy in that, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was
He
like
was-
the corporate guy, yeah.
He owned the
But
department
it wasn't
store.
it wasn't really a comedic role either, though.
Yeah.
He was great in that interview. Like, I was all for them getting Spader's character in there. I just think they didn't execute on it, or I kind of wonder if they were holding a position for him just for Blacklist.
That's a interesting conspiracy theory right there.
Wow.
That's it.
That's
Yeah.
deep.
Well, I do agree with you, Brett, that I don't think the character that we were introduced to in the job interview episode is the one we finally got, because I thought the Robert California as a boss came across borderline sex offender. I thought he was very creepy. That pool party episode was really fucking weird. He makes some kind of strange comment about women's gymnastics at the end as he's walking out the door. He's a fucking weirdo.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't as bad as I remembered, but it was borderline pretty bad.
Yeah.
See, I don't remember much of the later seasons,
That's probably a blessing.
Yeah, I wish I had that.
and
Well-
I think I watched them all.
Yeah.
It was funny, though. I watched the finale, and I didn't remember much of the finale.
The finale is really, really well done. I actually
No, I
like
agree
all
with
of,
that.
I actually like all of season 9. Do you think season 8 is just skippable? Is there anything worthwhile watching in that one?
I honestly can't remember any. Like, I can't remember. Like, I remember certain parts, but there's nothing, like, memorable about that season.
It's got a lot of Gabe. I think
Yeah.
it's got that weird
Is that
one.
when they're in Tallahassee, too?
Yeah, they go to Tallahassee a lot. There's that weird one where another fucking weird Robert California moment where he's wrestling some guy in his, like, condo.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so strange, and I don't know. Were we supposed to find that funny?
I think that was the intention. I would think.
It's just odd. I mean, he's wrestling a guy in his living room, and it's just what?
Well,
Yeah.
who was the boss at season 9?
And he technically was,
But
then
he was on the raft or whatever, the sailboat.
Yeah, I'm assuming he was shooting a movie in real life.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
They
'cause
kind of
that-
wrote him off for like half the
I
season.
remember. He went. What was it? He like on a soul searching mission or something after
Well, his
that
parents
that
went,
girl broke
yeah,
up with him or whatever.
His parents went bankrupt, and they were going to give the yacht away, so he stole it. Isn't that the way it went?
Yeah, I think so.
And then he disappeared. And then David Wallace gets the company back, kind of circling around to the beginning of the show, which I thought was a really nice touch. Suck It didn't pan out, apparently. But
No, actually, it did.
oh, yeah, that's right. It did. The Army bought it, didn't they? So Suck
Yeah.
It panned out. He bought Dunder Mifflin back. And, you know,
Okay.
they did a good job of circling back around to the way things were. But season 8, God, I wish I could just straight up forget it.
Yeah, season 9 was a little bit better than I remembered, but
Yeah, season 8. I think on the just as like a thought experiment, if you will. I'm just gonna skip season 8 because I will inevitably watch this one more time at least. I'm just gonna go from 7 to 9 and see how that flows.
One more time, you think you're gonna watch this?
Yeah, it'll be more than that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll
for
probably-
God's sakes.
I mean, I already caught myself watching ever since like Comedy Central put it on, they're showing like the 1 through 3 again. So I'm like, I caught myself back in San Diego in a hotel room, waiting for our cocktail hour or dinner plans to start, and I'm watching The Office in interim time.
That's the golden age of The Office.
Yeah,
It's hard to turn that down, even if there are
away.
commercials.
I
Yeah,
don't
can't
think
look away.
I've seen a week go by where either one of you guys have not tweeted about The Office.
It happens quite often, and I don't tweet that
I'll be-
often anymore. But a lot of
I'll
it's
be
about
honest,
The Office.
I see a lot more people dropping like Office gifs and whatnot.
It's a popular show. You know, I tweeted out the other day in preparation for this podcast what the greatest sitcom of all time was, and I picked Seinfeld, The Office, Friends, and Other, because I think the first 3 are kind of considered the most well-known sitcoms. Do you guys think that's fair?
Yeah,
No?
I think.
Which
Well,
one would you
okay.
cut? What would you replace it with?
Well, I mean, in our generation, I think yeah. I mean, I still think they're like classic.
oh,
sitcoms.
yeah. I was talking for people like in contemporary.
Yeah, you're right. Those are probably
obviously
the most popular 3.
Yeah, if you were gonna go like all time, you'd have to include like Cheers. Well, you'd have to include like the Honeymooners, all that type of stuff.
Right.
But
Married
for
to
contemporary,
More.
I never cared for Friends, to be honest.
yeah, I hate Friends. But I just picked it because it's popular.
I watched the first season of the Friends just because it was basically right after Seinfeld, so I watched the first season. I don't think I watched an episode after that.
It was just...
No, go ahead, Andy.
It was just bad.
Yeah, the little bit that I've seen, I don't care for.
I chose Seinfeld in your poll.
Do you guys think Seinfeld holds up all that well today?
I do. I still enjoy it, and I'm actually ticked that TBS dropped it.
Yeah, that's probably the sitcom I watched the most, because there was a stretch there where I would watch like 4 episodes after work every day. When I got home from work, they would be on like in syndication, and I'd just sit there and watch.
I mean, there's just like 3 straight seasons where they didn't miss on an episode.
TBS dropped that?
Yeah, it's like basically Family Guy, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and Big Bang Theory now.
Yeah, TBS has had that show for as long as I can remember. For as long as they've been carrying the Braves.
Yeah, it's been a while.
That's crazy. Oh, okay. Well, I got them on DVD, so I can always pull them out and watch them. But, yeah, so that's that. But ends on a high note. And, yeah, I don't know what else to say about The Office.
That was good TV. I mean, good mid-2000 TV show.
Yeah, and for, like I just said, I really do think it has one of the strongest series finales of all time. Although I still don't understand why Michael does not end up in the office at the end. It just seems, what was going on there?
I think my opinion is that they wanted to give a moment to all the people that's like stayed with the entire series. Because if you look, I guess Andy came in at the end, right?
I can't remember. I don't think Kelly was there, and she disappeared for the entire last season.
Yeah.
I think Ryan was there. They weren't part of the final 2 seasons. Boy, Ryan's character took a weird arc throughout this show, didn't it?
Oh, it was terrible.
Yeah.
That was one of the minute after he lost his job at corporate, it was a nosedive, and a quick nosedive.
Well, he went from it was so inconsistent, because when we first meet him, he's a very ambitious, he wants to learn business, he's going to make the most of this opportunity. You kind of see Dunder Mifflin suck the soul out of this kid before promoting him to a management position, gets fired, goes to jail, gets out of that, comes back, and he's really sleazy after that. He doesn't even seem like the same person.
Prison changes you, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like always pulling. He does he's like trying to steal people's money. He's working at the bowling alley. Oh, and we got to mention the Michael Scott Paper Company, which I do think is the last great storyline of the show. It's kind of like a last hurrah.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of rolled my eyes. I think the first time I remember them pulling out, it was kind of like, eh. But it was actually this rewatch. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that storyline.
I mean, when he picks up Pam in the house and he goes, I think he said basically like, "Oh, Jim, watch your boner," and he's like,
"What?
These donuts make you go nuts."
Oh, when he picked her up at like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotcha.
That your donuts make me go nuts line still cracks me up.
Yeah, I mean, the show still had the occasional like really funny moment after that, but I always consider that storyline, taken in the context of like an actual arc, to be like the last like great moment. And after that, it was just kind of like, okay, this is going on. Oh God, remember when they did that weird pyramid store and they were down in Florida? God, season 8 sucks.
That was terrible.
Season 8 sucks so bad. I wish I was like Andy and couldn't remember any of this shit.
Yeah, boy, I don't even remember the finale.
There's not enough Bushmills in the world to make me forget that pyramid thing.
Andy, I would just rewatch the finale.
I might just rewatch the finale.
It's
like a 40-minute episode. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
So, do you guys have any favorite episodes?
Yeah. I've got some favorite episodes listed out here. Brett, would you like to go first?
How are we doing this? Top to bottom?
Yeah, you give your 3 and I'll give my 3. Andy, did you pick 3?
I could only think of one that I remembered.
You can chip in the one then. So
right.
Why don't you go ahead, Brett, and I'll follow up with my choice.
All right, number 1, I got that stress relief episode, middle of season 5. I think it was a Super Bowl episode. So it's like a 40-minute like episode after this. I forget what Super Bowl. But it was the episode where Stanley had the heart attack due to like Dwight's he started the fire as a fire safety thing.
Yeah.
And that's when they have like that funny scene where they're trying to like learn how to give CPR, and Dwight cuts the face off of the mannequin. And then like Michael gets roasted by everybody too. It was great.
Was that in that same episode?
Yeah,
that was the roast.
It was a double episode.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
The sexual harassment episode is always a great one. I mean, that's the introduction to Todd Packer too.
Oh wow.
I mean, Todd Packer, for what he was in the beginning, was pretty good. Just, kind of a 1 or 2 episode a season type character.
Yeah, and again, that's another guy that we all know in every office that is just horribly inappropriate, but yet continues to get away with it.
Yeah, it's great. The Christmas party from season 2, too, was always good.
Good choice.
I still enjoy that one. And then honorable mention to the Phyllis's Wedding episode, because that was the first episode I saw.
Oh,
so.
Yeah, it takes you back, huh?
Yeah, and it's got that great Kevin line, too. So
which one's that?
It's when he's getting ready to play the police song, and they're looking for Uncle Al, and he goes in this whole thing, he has dementia and everything, and he just like busts right in like with no.
That was Roxanne, wasn't it?
Yeah, busted and starts saying Roxanne. Then.
That is great. Scrantonicity.
Yeah.
Well, we actually matched up on one of them, Brett. I picked Stress Relief for my honorable mention. I originally had it at number 2, but then I remembered there's that weird Jack Black, Cloris Leachman movie that Jim and Pam watched. That knocked it clear from 2 down to my honorable mention, because that part fucking sucks. That was so weird that they watched that movie and it made no sense and it wasn't funny.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell the point was.
What was the point of that? Was that just to showcase Jack Black?
I don't know. I don't know if it's.
Well, I don't even remember that.
Like Pam's dad or what?
It was horrible. Jack Black is like he's like a caregiver for Cloris. You know how old Cloris Leachman is at this point.
Oh yeah.
He's making out with her on the show, and it's just what the fuck is going on here? You know. I don't know. That was too. But man, that scene where he goes Hannibal Lecter on the Recessa Annie, that is pure comedy gold. Creed's like, no, I checked the wallet. He's not a donor. You know, it's just such a perfect like cocktail of weirdness. Absolutely love that part. My number 3 is actually Casino Night, the season finale of the second season. Because like I mentioned earlier, it really sets up like big changes for season 3. Completely flipped everything on its head. Jim ends up in Stanford. Pam, we find out next season, is not with Roy anymore. I thought that did a lot for the show's like character development and momentum. Plus, it had that great like love triangle with Jan and Carol. Great stuff from secondary characters in that one.
I can't think of that one line. He says something like 2 queens on Casino Night.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. Yep, 2 queens and I'm an ace or something like that. He's such a
no. He goes, I'm gonna drop a deuce or something like that.
That's what it was. Yeah. He's just so... I've never cringed more than watching Michael Scott hit on women on TV.
It worked with What's-Her-Face.
Yeah. My second one was from the same season, number 2. The Injury, where he cooks his foot on the Foreman grill.
Yeah.
That is just absolutely classic and shows what a selfish jerk Michael Scott really is. Also some great stuff from Rainn Wilson in that one, where he has to act his way into a concussion. Crashes up his gorgeous Thunderbird or Firebird in that one. Number 1 for me, and this is undisputed. There is nothing that will ever knock the king off the hill. A Dinner Party from season 4.
It's funny. That was one of the. I think it's top 3 rated at IMDb.
It's so good. It's so beautifully uncomfortable. And once again, like we've mentioned through this entire episode, it's relatable because we've all been. Not to that degree, in uncomfortable situations like that where we just want to escape and it just escalates and gets weirder and more nasty until the cops end up calling at the end. Absolutely love Dinner Party. It's my favorite episode of all time.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
Andy, what's yours?
Well, the only ones that I could really remember, and it's more moments than absolute episodes, is I liked that one episode where Jim was imitating Dwight. like through the
Wait,
whole.
does the Bear Beats Battlestar Galactica one?
Yeah.
Or he's dressed like him in the mustard shirt.
Uh-huh.
I can't even remember. It was a cold open. I remember that. I just can't remember what episode it was.
Yeah, and I don't know what happened the rest of the episode, but every time I think about that, it makes me laugh. And then the one where didn't Ryan set up like a notepad or something on Creed's computer?
Yeah, a
Oh,
And
yeah.
it was like creedthoughts.com/org or whatever.
Yeah, it was like just nonsense.
Oh.
Yeah.
God, Creed's got. I could watch I think there's YouTube of like Creed's greatest hits.
Well, and I mean, every character had bad moments on the show, but do you remember a moment where you like saw Creed and like that's not funny? I mean, he's consistently the best thing of the show.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it was great.
For how much damage they did to most of the characters, like they never overused him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an excellent point. You know, the closest they got to maybe pushing that boundary is when they made him a boss. But that was maybe
perfect, though.
yeah, that was like 5 minutes worth. You know, it was the perfect like little
perfect.
snippet. They knew not to overplay their hand there. I think Creed was probably the character they showed the most restraint with, and it worked so well.
Yeah, I mean, for how much damage they did to like some of the other ones. I mean,
Yeah, they screwed up a lot of stuff. So the reboot was announced a couple of weeks ago. Now I don't know if it's like officially confirmed, but I know the people that were in charge of running the original show want to make it happen. Biggest red flag for me on that, of course, is Steve Carell is not interested in it whatsoever.
and I don't blame them.
So in my opinion, I don't think it should exist. And they're selling it as a mix of old and new characters. Guys, what do you think of this? It sounds like a disaster.
I imagine the old characters are going to be like like Stanley's, the Oscars, and the Creeds.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, I don't know what. I think I looked up Jim's IMDb page just to see what he's doing. I think he's doing a lot of producing.
Well, he's in a lot of movies and stuff, though. John Krasinski is in a bunch of movies. I think he's going to star in another series on Amazon, too, like a Jack Ryan series. So he's really busy. And Ed Helms, of course, is in a lot of movies. Craig Robinson, too, has had a kind of a... He's been in a ton of movies. Both Hot Tub Time Machine. I mean, he's a bona fide... Not going to say he's a movie star, but he's consistently in feature films. I don't see him coming back to TV.
I don't see Andy coming back.
Yeah, like you said, Brett, it's going to be Stanley, Angela, Oscar. They're fine characters, but do you want to see a show where they kind of pass the torch to a bunch of nobodies? I don't think I do.
Yeah, I mean, they tried that with those two young guys in season 9 too, and that didn't work either.
Yeah, Plop and whatever that other non-Plop guy was.
Yeah, that was kind of weird too. But
Dwight Rainn Wilson, he's not doing a whole lot. I think he's the voice of Gargamel in the Smurfs, but I can't be sure of that.
I could see him. I could see him doing it.
Yeah, he might be able to come back, but I think you almost have to put him in a management role at that point because that's how you left off. And Pam, actress, I don't think she's doing a whole lot right now. But if you don't bring Jim back, you really can't bring Pam back, can you?
Yeah, and I don't know what really she's doing as an actress. Like, I don't know if she's just kind of doing the family thing or what.
It could
I
be.
don't know.
I know she got on Twitter recently.
I just saw her in something. I don't know if it was a trailer or something. I just saw her, but I can't remember what it was. Well, what's Mose up to these days?
Mike Schur's doing a ton.
That's a great question. Yeah, I love Mose. We didn't mention him once today.
Well, you know who played him, right?
It was the producer, wasn't it?
Yeah, basically. He's doing a ton.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see them coming back. And that was the thing about season 9 too, is they were trying to set that Schrute family.
That was fucking weird. I hated that part. That was so odd.
That's what they were trying to do.
And
they were trying to do that.
Though. Oh, he had a spin-off, didn't he?
Oh, that never did. That
Brett,
never
I forgot
did
about
start.
the spin-off. I forgot about the spin-off.
They never
did
that
that either.
either.
Set that up in that last season, and it just never worked.
Did they try it and it just failed, or did it never air?
No, but they tried in some of the episodes in season 9. They were trying to introduce like more of the family.
Because they brought those Schrute farmers.
Nah, it never got greenlit.
And he was like buying tractors with them. They spent a ton of time on that storyline too. That sucked. That was so weird.
Yeah, that show never even ran.
Yeah.
No,
well, that would have been a disaster.
Fortunately.
Yeah, it's like when they tried to make the Joey character from Friends. Not that I watched that show, but a spinoff. It just doesn't work. Those kind of characters that work with it, in the context of an ensemble cast, they just don't work. And I wouldn't watch a show about just Dwight. Would you guys?
Nah, probably it would have been a disaster. For a show like Friends that you haven't watched, you know a lot about it though.
Yeah, that's you
Hey,
have a good point.
It worked for Frasier.
That's a good point. That's probably my second favorite comedy of all time. I love Frasier.
It's honestly worked for Better Call Saul because I know Ryan and I talked about that leading up to it, thinking it wasn't going to work, but it did.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a disaster, but it's been brilliant so far. I know some people would say it's better than Breaking Bad. I don't agree with that.
There's no.
I think it's maybe a tick below. I mean, it's not like a Grand Canyon gap in quality. It's
no, I agree.
Close.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think a lot of that is bringing Mike back as well. Really kind of helps sell that. It's a great show. I can't wait for that to come back.
Oh, and especially with Gus coming into the fold now.
That's right. Yeah, Gus is coming back. Oh, I'm fired up for that now that I'm thinking. That's got to be coming back soon, doesn't it?
I think I heard summer.
Okay, that's a little ways off then.
Well, you gotta somehow shoehorn the 30 episodes of Walking Dead in there.
Oh, yeah, that's coming. That's gonna be returning here soon too.
Don't get me started. I'm starting to get. You can tell it's getting to be February because I'm starting to get jammed up about Walking Dead.
Well, and the back half is usually where they ram the filler in, isn't it? We're bound to get that 1 hour 45-minute episode of Morgan tying his shoes,
farming,
and it's just gonna be awful. Hope they got enough time for more bebopping and scatting though, because I know you like that. Andy.
Oh man,
has there been enough of that in the first half of the season?
My favorite thing.
He hasn't been doing that much. Yeah. They haven't been focusing on him that much.
I feel like he dialed it back.
Podcast and they cut back on it.
I feel like he dialed it back this season. I don't know if the word got out if more people were kind of growing tired of that.
Oh my God.
I found it charming at first, but once you pointed it out to me, I'm like, yeah, it's getting a little old. You could maybe dial that back just a little bit.
Every time I see it, I think of Andy though.
Yeah. Yeah, it's forever. It's forever tied to Andy at this point when he does his shtick. Poor Carl. That was tough to watch.
Coral,
not going to be with us much longer.
Yeah,
I missed it. I missed the live tweeting day of that show.
That doesn't happen anymore, does it? No,
I mean I go on there on a Sunday night, and I usually watch it Monday because I can fast forward through all the commercials.
Yeah.
I've noticed I don't even get spoiled anymore. I don't think that Carl thing was ever spoiled.
I feel like live tweeting in general has kind of it just doesn't happen that much anymore. And maybe that's because I'm not on there as much, but I
think tweeting in general is down.
Yeah, I think people are
politics.
I think it's just people are growing tired of it.
The popular things to live tweet. I noticed Monday the wrestling crowd comes out.
Yep, wrestling.
They were out tonight.
There's a lot of wrestling live tweets, and then whatever day that This Is Us shows on.
Yeah.
That gets a fair amount of live tweeting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the only thing that gets live tweeted anymore is when Trump tweets. So
that does tend to get people out of their rabbit holes.
And I'm always on 5 minutes after it happens too.
Yeah, that's bad timing on your part. All right, do you guys have anything else to say about The Office?
No, good show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to watch more of that.
Andy, did this inspire you to go back and rewatch it?
Well, I got so much stuff I got to catch up on.
Yeah.
I'm just not a rewatch guy.
No, once you see the story, that's it?
Yeah, I figured once I saw it, I don't really go back and revisit it.
Yeah.
It was a good show. It was a great show for me just to watch maybe an hour before bed, knock out 3 or 4 episodes.
I think a lot of it for me too is that, when I first met my wife, obviously when she wasn't my wife at the time, this is one of the shows that we watched together, and I'm not trying to be super sentimental here, but I always kind of associate that with, hey, we were dating and we used to watch The Office, and maybe that's why I love the show so much as well. I remember that good time, and yeah, it's a great show.
Nice.
All right, Andy, what do we got something big coming up? Isn't Black Panther right around the corner? Isn't that in February?
Yeah, the 16th.
That's coming up fast. For some reason, I thought that was in the summer.
No, the 16th. I think there's a slew of them coming out here. Like, seems like there's going to be one a month.
Yeah.
I don't
Can't
know.
wait.
I don't have the. I don't
Well,
have.
what
You know.
Avengers? Well, what else is Avengers in the spring as well?
Yeah, it's May, isn't it?
Okay, wow, that's coming up fast then. Han Solo's coming in May. May is going to be a big month. How are we feeling about the Han Solo movie right now, guys?
Kind of down on it.
Yeah, that seems to be the general consensus.
You know,
I
it's
don't know.
funny,
I think it's going to be good.
Yeah?
How many times did you guys see Star Wars?
Last
I
Jedi?
saw it.
I saw it twice.
Yeah.
I saw it twice as well.
Is it still in the theater?
Probably.
It's still here. Yeah.
It feels like it's been out longer than a month.
I was going to say, if they're still showing Lady Bird, they've got to still be showing Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, Andy.
Listen.
Here's what the schedule looks like right now. We've got Black Panther in February, and then in May we get both Deadpool 2 and Avengers. That's on the 4th and the 18th. And then we get Ant-Man and the Wasp. I feel like everyone has forgotten about that movie. That's coming to July 6th.
I can't wait for Ant-Man 2. Wow.
And then isn't there another?
Is that sarcasm there?
Isn't there a DC
Not at all.
movie in there
Is that
too?
sarcasm there?
Not at all.
Good God. Did you even bother with the first Ant-Man movie?
No, I know
It was
this is already
good.
the same movie.
So you're
Yeah, it was
passing
good.
you're passing judgment on it, you're being a smart ass about it, and you haven't even seen it. I'm glad Andy spoiled Get Out for you.
I forgot about how he spoiled it.
What were you saying, Andy?
I said, isn't there a DC movie in there too?
What would that be? What is DC doing this year?
Suicide Squad 2.
Oh God, please tell me that's not actually coming.
I have no idea.
I don't know.
DC, we've got Aquaman.
When's that?
That's all the way in December.
Okay.
So that's a long ways away. Yeah, DC's been putting out 2 movies a year, but this year they're just doing one.
Snail Man or...
Snail Man?
Yeah.
That does sound like a DC character, to be honest. So that's what's coming up. So we're going to be busy this year, I think. And we're going to try and cover all this stuff, plus all the TV stuff. So we'll definitely have to do a Walking Dead end of the season review for that. So yeah, I think we're going to be more busy this year in 2018.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot going on, and
Yeah.
then who knows? Sooner or later, this superhero movie bubble's going to burst.
Yep, same with Star Wars. Well, nerd culture in general, I think, is kind of coming to an end, isn't it?
I don't know if I'd say that. I just think that after a while, I don't know how many people,
Well, I think once you, assuming, like, now obviously I have no clue if this is going to happen, but let's say Captain America or Tony Stark, maybe both, should die in Avengers Age of Ultron. I think you're losing the star power of those two actors. I think that the mainstream audience is going to kind of lose interest at that point.
Well, that's what I mean. As soon as this batch of actors
Yeah.
moves on and doesn't do them anymore, they're going to have to reboot the MCU at some point. Because, I mean, you can't have, and then do a different take on Captain America. You're still going to have those heroes, but you're going to have to do a different take on them.
Yeah. Well, what phase are we in? Is this the start of Phase 4?
Yeah, I can't tell you.
But, I mean,
How
at
many
some
phases
point...
are there?
Well, there's at least 3. I think we're either at the end of Phase 3 or the start of Phase 4 right now.
Ugh.
But, I mean, like you're saying, though, Andy, if they have to go back and recast the actors, which, of course, they will, because these guys are getting old, will they have to start over at Phase 1 again?
Well, I think they'll finish this out telling this story that they have that's all interconnected.
Yeah.
But then when that's over, then recast and start a new one. You know what I mean?
But
So
there'll have to be a break, like a decade-long break between the two, though, because people are getting burned out on this stuff.
yeah, they'll probably do something else.
Yeah.
I think the Ant-Man will be good when they reboot it in like 5 years.
Ant-Man was a good movie. You should have given it a try.
I think I checked out when they started releasing like the 3rd version of Spider-Man.
Yeah. Well, I can't blame you for that, because some of those Spider-Man movies were not that great. I'm looking at you, Spider-Man 3.
And they have a Venom movie
God, they
coming.
ruined Venom in that movie.
What do you want to do? What do you want to see with Venom? Isn't Tom Hardy playing him?
I don't know.
What do you think of that? You're a comics guy.
I don't know.
'Cause he's a big dude. Isn't Venom like lean and stuff and skinny?
I don't know what they're gonna do.
That's a Sony Pictures one. So I mean, do we have any faith in that at this point?
Well, they did okay with. I like the last Spider-Man.
The Garfield one.
No,
wasn't that more Marvel Studios though?
Was it?
Yeah, I think
It's still stuff. I thought it was still.
Well,
Sony.
Sony had their name attached to it, but I think Feige was the guy making all the creative decisions there.
Okay.
But I could be wrong.
All right.
We'll see. Well, that's all we got tonight. This ended up being a lot longer than I thought it was going to be because we took some detours into comic book. But Andy, what's your Twitter address? How can people get a hold of you?
@ComeWicked.
How about you, Brett?
That's what she said.
That at that's what she said. You know somebody has that.
No. Andy's Andy's handle. That's what she said. Come Wicked.
There you go. Yeah.
Catch me at Slagerbomb71.
Good God, you don't even know your own Twitter handle.
That's 12 o'clock.
All right, thanks a lot for listening, everybody. We will catch you soon for Black Panther, I would assume, will be the next episode. Good night.
Good night.
Later.